Welcome to the channel and welcome back to my series where we discuss the changes, trends, and lore in Pokemon from Generation 1 to the modern day Pokemon games. We're going to start today's video off with a little game. I'm going to show you the image of a Pokemon and you are going to tell me the category or species name of that Pokemon. Let's begin. Goomy, the soft tissue Pokemon. Corphish, the ruffian Pokemon. And Galarian Darmanitan, the Zen Charm Pokemon. Now, many of you probably didn't get all three of those right. And that's because Pokemon categories are some of the most ignored and, to be honest, most useless features in any Pokemon game. Yet they've been in every Pokemon game from Red and Blue to Scarlet and Violet. Even some of the newest Pokemon, the Loyal 3, have a category name. It's the Retainer Pokemon. And don't even get me started on how Retainer means owing service to a household or owing a debt, and they're all in chains and are obviously serving some stronger Pokemon. We'll save that for a future video. So why do we even have category names if they are so useless? Well, I think to find our answer, we have to look at the real world. As I'm sure many of you know, every animal on our planet has multiple names. Not only are the names different from region to region and country to country, but every animal also has a universal name to help classify it across the globe. Let's take a look at this creature, for example. Where I'm from in the United States, many people would call it a roly-poly, which is a regional name for pillbug, but its scientific name is Armadillidium vulgare. And its scientific name is the same across the globe, while pillbug is only used in English-speaking countries. Scientific names are used to classify the animal, to give information about its biological or physical traits, and to give every animal a global name, which is what these categories are meant to do in the Pokemon world. Pokemon categories give information on the abilities, appearance, and behavior of the Pokemon. To be fair, and before I get absolutely roasted in the comments for this, I know that both the names are the same in every region across the Pokemon world. But its regular name is just what the Pokemon is saying over and over again, even though we know it is giving you information about the Pokemon that's out of meta, out of game knowledge. Its category name is to give new Pokédex users upfront information about new Pokemon that they will be encountering. Let's look at Coughing as an example. As the player character, seeing it and hearing its name, you may not be aware of the dangers that are present, but if you pull out your Pokédex and register this Pokemon, you will quickly be informed that this is Coughing, the poison gas Pokemon, giving you both the name of the Pokemon and information that would be very important for a human to be aware of. Another reason categories exist is because of the origins of Pokemon as a franchise. As many of you know, Pokemon was heavily inspired by the childhood pastime of creator Satoshi Tajiri, catching bugs and discovering aquatic creatures near his home in Tokyo. When you observe and collect insects and animals as a hobby, you learn many things about them, including their categories. You would learn about things like a Danaus plexippus butterfly, also commonly known as the monarch butterfly, which is a part of the Nymphalidae family, or the brush-footed butterflies. Is it starting to sound like how Meryl belongs to the Aqua Mouse Pokemon category? In the real world, people can find these names and categories in field guide books. These are books and texts which help people with hobbies like bug collecting and bird watching identify what animal they are looking at and what names and categories it belongs to. If only there was something like this in the Pokemon world that functioned the same way. If there were, it would probably explain why Pokemon categories were created in the first place, to function like a field guide in the Pokemon world. Wouldn't that be really neat and a cool feature that referenced the inspirations and ideas that helped Satoshi Tajiri make Pokemon? Before we continue, I want to mention that today's video was actually chosen by the subscribers in the comments of the last video. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more great videos like this, and if you want to possibly inspire what videos are chosen next. Now, a common misconception, and one that I actually believed in until I was researching for this video, is that when Pokemon share category names, they're genetically or biologically related, much like how real-world scientific names work. However, this isn't the case. Shared category names don't actually suggest genetic relation, just that two Pokemon share similar physical or biological traits. Take Nidoran and Naganadel for example. Both share the same category name of the Poison Pin Pokemon, but they are definitely not genetically related. They're not even from the same universe. However, they do share the same biological traits using pins to disperse poison, and therefore both share the same Pokemon category name. This is of course the case for Blastoise and Kabutops, as we mentioned last video. They're not related, but they're both shellfish, obviously. Okay, Blastoise category name makes no sense. I guess it gets the name because it can move by blasting water through its shell like some mollusks can, but even then, this is one of the weirder category names. And of course, more than two Pokemon can share a category name. Take the mouse Pokemon category, for example, which is shared by 8 Pokemon like Pikachu, Sandshrew, and Pawmi. Or even the dragon Pokemon category, which is shared again by 8 Pokemon, including Salamence and Kingdra. Fun fact, in each of the first 3 generations, at least one Pokemon had the category name the Dragon Pokemon. We can also look at the largest Pokemon category with a whopping 20 members, which is the Paradox Pokemon category, which of course is just a way of categorizing all of these imaginary time traveler Pokemon. They haven't really answered that yet. Maybe in the Indigo Disc. I really wish we could cover every single category because there are so many funny and absolutely wild ones, but it would be a 6-hour video. Maybe I can do a live stream so we can talk about every single one in order. However, that isn't going to stop me from talking about my favorite ones right now. Quick, name the 5 Pokemon with the category name the fossil Pokemon. Time's up. It's Aerodactyl and the Galarian fossils. Not any of the other fossil Pokemon from Kanto, not any of the fossils from Gens 3 through 6, just Aerodactyl, my precious child, and those 3 losers. Next up is the Chimp Pokemon, which isn't shocking. I just like that it's Chimchar and Grookey, the 2 monkey starters. Claydol is the Claydol Pokemon, a bit redundant if you ask me. Galarian Mr. Mime and Oricorio are the dancing Pokemon, once again reinforcing the idea that just because you share a category name does not mean you are genetically related. Ledian and Lediba are the 5-star Pokemon instead of the Ladybug Pokemon. You're in here now. I'm just going to use this time to say that Ledian is in fact the most forgotten Pokemon and it deserves an evolution. Please, Game Freak, I'm begging you. Cantonian Voltorb and Electrode are the ball Pokemon, while Hisuian Voltorb and Electrode are the sphere Pokemon. Really glad they made that distinction. I almost called Hisuian Voltorb a ball, like an idiot. Alright, let's go back to you having to guess. Which is the waterfish Pokemon? Magikarp? Goldeen? Veluza? No, it's Wooper and Quagsire. Starmie is the mysterious Pokemon, probably because its origins are a mystery. Unless some genius YouTuber cracked the code and realized that Minior, Deoxys, and Starmie are all related, that would be pretty impressive. And of course, we all know the boxing Pokemon, Crabrawler. Hitmonchan is the punching Pokemon, I won't bait you that hard. And again, as I teased in my last video, Slowbro is the Hermit Crab Pokemon. Which I guess if you took a Hermit Crab and took it out of its shell and put a pink hippo into its shell as a replacement, you would have Slowbro. This category name makes no sense. They've really gone out of control with this one. It has to be the shell. Dusknoir's category name was meant to be a reference to how it carries people's spirits to the underworld, but the name Gripper Pokemon was really too weird for me to ignore. Then there are a bunch of made-up names that are meant to fit Pokemon better where there's just lacking terms, like Copperderm, Hexpert, Avianoid, and Ogre Darner. Ogre Darner gets me really good every time. Why is this Pokemon called the Ogre Darner? Category names have a wide range from extremely literal to helpfully descriptive to just made up words. But no matter how funny or silly they are, one question still remains. Why do we still have them if they serve no real purpose? Well, I think they do have a purpose. Actually, two purposes. The first one is to keep the new games tied to the origins of Pokemon. As time marches on and new generations come out, we move further and further away from what made Red and Blue so special. Pokemon Categories is a simple and effective way to not only tie the new games to Generation 1, but to keep in mind that this game is based on bug catching and exploring the world through field guides. In this case, a high-tech encyclopedia of Pokemon knowledge that helps us learn about the Pokemon world all around us, just like how Satoshi Tajiri wanted it to be. The other purpose is to bridge the gap between the real world and the Pokemon world. As much as adults love this game, it is ultimately made for kids. When you are 8 years old and you're playing your first Pokemon game, it could be kind of tough to know what Gible is supposed to be. But when you pull out your Pokédex and it tells you it is Gible, the land shark Pokemon, you know not only what Gible is supposed to be, but also what Gible may become. It helps kids understand what they might not be able to learn from the names, and it helps them pick Pokemon that are based on their interests. And that is why Pokemon Categories were created, why they still exist, and just some of my favorites that I really wanted to share with you. Please don't forget that I frequently do videos like this where I talk about the changes, trends, and lore in Pokemon from Generation 1 to the modern day. So if you enjoy Pokemon videos like this, leave a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We have lots of interesting videos coming up. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time when the adventure continues.